Quadratic inequality. Now, if you've got a class whiz, again, you can just type this in and get your answer. But you should think of that as just a check, which you should do either at the beginning or the end of this to make sure that you've done it right. But you do really need to do this manually to make sure that you get all the marks. So to solve these, you first need to factorise. So 4x squared minus 5x minus 6, we need to factorise that. So note what AC is, 4 times minus 6, and B is minus 5. And we're looking for two numbers at times to give minus 24, and which add to give minus 5. And after a short search, you should find that those are 3 and minus 8. So using the shortcut method, we can write 4x plus 3 and 4x minus 8 and divide each bracket by its highest common factor. Altogether, we should have divided by 4 because there's a 4 here, and we have done that. 1 times 4 is 4. So our final answer for our factorisation is 4x plus 3, x minus 2. So writing this over here in our main stream of working now, we need to now interpret what to do next. So once you've got a factorised expression and an inequality greater than or equal to 0, it's important to recognise what that's asking. It's asking this. It's asking for what x values is the graph y equals that above the x-axis. Above because it's greater than. If it was less than, it would be below. So for which x values is this graph above the axis? Well, we need to sketch the graph. Remember, a factorised form of a quadratic tells us where it meets the axis. So the values of x that make these two brackets 0 are where the graph touches the axis. So those will be minus 3/4 for this bracket and 2, very clearly, for this bracket. So we can see what these roots here will be minus 3/4 and 2. The question is saying for which of the values on this axis is the graph above? Well, there I've drawn a few lines going up. So if you're standing on any of these points on the axis, you have to look up to see the graph. Whereas if you're standing in the middle, you'd have to look down to get the graph, to see the graph. And of course, we want to look up to see the graph. So the answer to our question is x is less than minus 3/4 and x is greater than 2. Don't be tempted to try and combine those into a single, like a compound or trapped between inequality. Just write it as two separate inequalities like that, because it's two separate regions on the x-axis. And then remember, check your answer on your ClassWiz calculator at the end.